Alright, so we got here the Moto G, Motorola Moto G. This phone right here, it's actually a nice little phone, I can't even lie. It's got the new pattern on the back, kind of, I believe the Moto X will have something kind of similar. It's got a little ridges. Yes, it does make sound if you scratch against it, but I mean, not really sure why you would do that. But overall it does add a little bit of grip to it. So it's still very nice in the hand, still very one-handed friendly. It's got a 720p HD display, LCD, and it's a nice one. You know, this phone definitely feels premium. Well, it doesn't feel like a $180 phone. I've held other $180 phones and they did not feel as good as this phone does. And it responds pretty well. It's pretty smooth. This is the 8GB, 1GB model. So 1GB of RAM, 8GB of memory. You know, of course, Motorola keeps it very close to stock, so you won't see anything like, there's no skins, which I'm really not a big fan of skins at all, especially if you're gonna do a, a mid-range phone. Adding a skin on that is just gonna slow it down. But this phone is pretty fast. I've installed some apps on it already. It's only 8GB, so you're not gonna get much storage out of it. So if you're a power user, you definitely want to opt in for the 16GB model with 2GB of RAM. I only have 462 megabytes left, and that's after a couple of apps. I have about 3.24 gigs of apps. I have one game on there which is over a gig. Asphalt, I'll show you some gameplay in a little bit. But overall, I've been using the phone. It's nice. It's very nice. So Motorola has added some features. There's Moto Display, which I'll show you in a little bit. Then you have Moto Action. So if you do this right here, that'll launch the flash. One more time, we'll turn it off. And of course, you have this motion there. That'll launch the camera. And of course, just tap on the screen to take a picture. Camera is pretty easy to use. I usually turn this on so I can kind of have control over the focus. Also with the exposure, you can go up or down with that. Then you have HDR mode, which you can turn on auto. You can also shoot in slow motion, 720p. You have the option, by default it's on widescreen, but I'd rather take the full 13 megapixel picture. And then you have, of course, timer, panorama mode. You can pick where you want the storage, if you want the phone to save it, or if you want the memory card to have it, location, and then, the shutter sound. Of course, also if you do this one more time, that'll turn it around, and then we'll be at the front-facing camera. This one's got a 5 megapixel camera, which is pretty nice. It's actually not bad at all. Same thing, just tap to take the picture. And that's about it for the camera. This is a test of the Moto G front-facing camera. The adjustment to the light is a little harsh though, but overall it's actually pretty good quality from what I can see. We do lose out on the stereo front-facing speakers. You only have one speaker, which is at the bottom here. So let's do a quick little. It's not a bad speaker at all, though. So.
We all have the potential to be heroes. This fall, the groundbreaking.
And like, who doesn't skip an ad, right?
What is up, guys?
So it's not a bad speaker at all. The screen's not bad either.
For a Motorola event for their new flagship smartphones. So these are my quick first impressions of them, as I got to spend a little bit of time with them, and they're actually really interesting smartphones. So the main new device.
Yeah. So the screen's nice. Speakers are well, the front-facing speaker is nice as well. I've had no issues with it while messing around with it. Phone's been on for a little bit. I'm at 60%. It's actually pretty good on battery life. I've been on it for about an hour and 49 minutes. Screen brightness has been up for the most part of the day.
17:30, I'm like, hey, what's up, hello? Since your pretty ass, as soon as you came in the door, I just wanna chill,
take a look at the Moto app. It does have Moto. I showed you Moto Actions, Moto Display, Moto Assist. So for Moto Display, it actually only shows up once. When you get a notification, then it'll stop. But if the phone is just sitting there, if you nudge it, it'll come back on. Or if you pick it up, it'll come back on. You can tap it, but it only turns the screen on once. And it does. The whole screen does turn on, which if it was an AMOLED display, only the white pixels would turn on. So it does have Moto Assist, where you can. But we already know about that. So it's like if you're in a meeting or something like that, or if you're driving, it'll read out your text to you. You can also add new places, like if you're at home or anything like that. Overall, the phone's been very, very snappy. Apps launch pretty quickly. So I haven't not had any issues with performance yet, but I'm sure performance would be upgraded under 2 gigabytes. I believe only once or twice I've had an app have to load. The home screen's only redrawn on me once, which is pretty good for a phone at this price range. So I can't really complain about that. So for $180, you're getting a 5-inch 720p display, a 2450 milliamp battery, I believe, or 2470. 13 megapixel camera on the back, no OIS, but it still does pretty well. I have some camera samples for you guys. Dual tone flash, CCT, so it should do better with skin tones. So the picture doesn't look as bad as a normal flash would. 5 megapixel camera on the front. Also waterproofing, which I will test later for you guys. And so yeah, it's a pretty good package. Alright, so we're gonna test out the waterproofing of it. Always whenever you take off the back and put it back, make sure like the whole back is on. So press all around it. Also, don't forget to press around these areas, which I found these are the hardest to stay back on. So once they're all secure, you can go ahead, and if you happen to drop it in the toilet or in the sink, you should be fine. So let's go. Still playing. So this touchscreen does not work, and I'm not sure if you want to hit the buttons or not while it's in the water. I'm not sure if Motorola says if that's alright or not, but it is still working while it's in the water. Rotation still works. So there it goes. Also, after you got it out of the water, if you want to just shake it out, make sure you have, get the water out of all the ports. Yes, no flaps needed. Looking at you, Samsung, with your S5 and your ugly flaps that always broke. But so you don't need any flaps with these ones, but definitely want to shake it out a little bit just to make sure that you get any water out of those. So I took the back off, and looks like water did get underneath, but I believe you should still be fine. If you look at where where the SD card is, there's no water there, but there's water all around. So the crucial parts are protected. So that's what these are there for, the little extra flaps. So even if the water does get underneath the phone, these parts will still be protected. So that's why it's very important to make sure that this is snapped on all the way. Alright, so another bonus you do get with the Moto G is the FM radio. So if you want to listen to music without using your data plan, this is definitely a good option right here. You will need headphones, because the headphones actually act as your antenna. So once you got this headphones plugged in, you're good to go. You can play the music. Also, the cool thing is too, if you have a Bluetooth headset, they will actually play through them as well.
Yo, Sunday night, baby, this is how we do.
As I did promise you guys some gaming. So I have Asphalt 8 loaded on here. Like I said, this is the 8 gigabyte model, so I did not have too much space. But this is a pretty graphic intensive game. So let me turn off the headset real quick so I can get some sound. let's go to London. Now, I've been playing this game for a little bit. I've had no issues so far. It's run it perfectly. I haven't had any frame drops or anything like that. Alright, but there you go. Alright, so that was my review of the Motorola Moto G. If you have any questions about it, just put them down in the links below. I've pretty much gone through everything. I'll definitely have more picture samples on Google+, so if you're not following me there, follow me right now. And feel free to subscribe to this channel, and I'll hit you guys up with more news.